Alright, update on my motor. I got all the bearings changed out and got it all bolted back together and ready to go. And I found my problem that I was having. The flex plate bolts were just a teeny bit too long under the head. Now this isn't one, but this is just for reference. The threads don't go all the way to the top, and it kind of tapers a little wider on these. Well, the threads were completely bottomed out in the crankshaft, and the underhead was just barely touching the flex plate enough to hold it a little bit. So once I drove it a little bit and got on it a few times, it came loose and it would just barely wiggle back and forth. But with the motor running and the torque converter on it and all, that's what was making all that loud noise. So I pulled them back out and put a washer under every one of them, and I should be good to go. And yes, they were still torqued when I went to take this apart, because that was one of the first things I checked, was to see if they were loose or not, and they weren't. They were torqued. They just were bottomed out torqued and just barely touching. Alright guys, I'm gonna see if I can end today with getting the motor and transmission back in. Well, this feels like deja vu, probably because it is. We're back to this point again. Motor and trans is in, core support's in. It's about all the further I got. All the little holes in the firewall are patched to as good as I'm going to do them, with some paint back over them. On to the next step. Yeah, so let me give a shout out to Andy for motivating me to get busy and coming over and giving me a hand getting started. Appreciate it. Well, it's been weeks since the last video clip since I worked on it, so see if I can't get something done with it today. Well, got the radiator back in, transmission cooler, bottom radiator hose hooked up, transmission lines hooked up, fan put back on. Haven't hooked it up yet. I'm gonna do that next and put the alternator on next. Alright, fans wired up, upper radiator hose is on, alternator's on, belt's on. A little bit more progress done. Well, temperature gauge is hooked up, oil pressure gauge is now hooked up. I think I'm calling it for the day on that note, just out of motivation and energy. It's a new day, progress is slow. Got the distributor in, but that's it so far. Fixing to work on getting the wiring to the alternator back in place. Well, I got way more done today than I thought I would. Got the headers back on. Well, the other header was already on, but got the driver's side header on. Got all the steering linkage hooked back up. Got both sides of the exhaust on. I'm getting really close. Alright guys, I forgot to film a lot of stuff over the last few days, but there's an empty trunk, so you know what that means. Hood's back on too, ready to go. Yep, got the carburetor back on, fuel lines hooked up. For whatever reason, I had a heck of a time getting the hood adjusted this time. I don't know why, I've never had an issue with it before, but and the gaps are worse than usual. Not like they were perfect before anyway, but I don't know what the deal is. Got my new throttle cable hole drilled and throttle cable put in. Still gotta cut it off to the correct length and hook it up, and it'll be drivable. It's sad that I don't even remember what all I did over the last few days, but interior's put back together too, so like I said, got to hook up the throttle cable and recheck the alignment, because I don't think it's quite where it needs to be since I took it apart. Oh yeah, and I got the street tires swapped back on there so I can do some driving. Alright, had a buddy stop over the other day and re-motivate me to hurry up and get finished, so appreciate that, Andy. Had the wife come out this morning and help me get the toe in set back like it needed to be. So just gotta fix the throttle linkage from the gas pedal to the carburetor, get it squared away, and be ready to fire up and take a drive. Well, every time I think I'm fixing to go for a test drive, I find something else. Now the hard lines where they go into the transmission are leaking, so once it cools down, I'm gonna jack it up and retighten them. It was the hoses where they were connected to the hard lines was leaking the day before, and I ran out of gas. Well, I've been horrible at filming. I don't even remember where I left off, but the two hard lines that go into the side of the transmission are leaking a little bit, so I'm going to tighten them up and then wash this baby up and take it for a test drive. All right, let's go for a little drive. We got some 8-foot 2x4s from Home Depot. Gonna load them up. Are we having fun?
Yes.
Except for being hot?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, you can get my wood out for me. That's a heck of a trunk. That's my dead body's trunk. Go ahead.
Well, if you need anybody to hire you to...
Well guys, no more test driving for today. The weather is done. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, thanks for the likes, and thanks for the comments. See you next time.